I won't get technical, I promise, so it'll be really high level, but I did want to just kind of give you a sense for what the basics are. So you've got the user, you've got an action, and the action is something that you can design. You can design it in any language. So it starts off in English. You decide, what verb, what action you guys want to take in your application. So if it's a food application, it's about, I cooked something, or I'm craving something. If it's a running app, as I was saying, it's I ran. Here I'll give you an example of a movie application where I'm rating movies. And so you define the action, you define the object itself, and the user is obviously the Facebook user in this particular case. And the idea is that you can create any verb you want within reason. So obviously there are some verbs that are going to be off limits, as you can imagine. So I always get the question of, can I say I don't like something, right? Can I create a verb that is sort of negative in some way? So those are the kinds of things that probably are not necessarily conducive to creating distribution or virality. So really what we look for are things that users are doing with your application anyway, right? So if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, which is a review site, what you do on that site is rate. So that's what you want to publish back to Facebook, either in the ticker or in the news feed or in the timeline aggregation. So in this case, the idea is you create the action. You can add a specific sort of user message so that it makes it a little bit more personal. And then you have the object, and you want to make sure you have a picture so that it's really engaging. And so what happens is essentially you have the very simple action that says, Amina rated Slumdog Millionaire. Very simple. That happens in ticker. Ticker is what you see at the top right of your new Facebook timeline. You have it in newsfeed, and you also have sort of a Rotten Tomatoes application, what we call a sort of a timeline aggregation. And so when you go on the timeline, which is what I was showing you earlier, you see everything that I did on Rotten Tomatoes. The idea here is that you have control as a user. So this is really important for everybody to understand. The idea is that you give authorization to the application, and it tells you here's what we're going to use, and then it publishes back. But if you decide, you know what, I actually don't want to share this particular article that I just read, you can remove it. You can remove it within the developer's application, you can remove it on Facebook, and you can remove it entirely. Decide I never want the Guardian to share what I'm reading. So there's a lot of control at an activity level and then at an application level for the user. So this is another sort of area that I think folks ask a lot of questions about, which is, well, where can I do it? So there's a misconception that in order for you to use a timeline application, you have to build something on Facebook. You don't. You can actually do it on your own website. So if you're a new site and you get a lot of traffic on your own site, you don't necessarily want to go build something on the Facebook canvas, as we call it. You can decide to do it on your own site. Spotify, for example, did not build a Facebook application. They have their own client. And so the integration that they worked on was one that allowed them to really do this on their own. Mobile, there's a lot of guys who just do mobile. This is, again, something else that you can actually do just on your mobile site. So the idea here is that you can choose to do this any way that is right for your business. And there are no sort of special deals. I often get this question, which is, well, what did Spotify do to be able to really work with you guys so closely? And what did the Washington Post do to see as much growth? And the reality is, all of these tools are available to you right now. So you can literally, actually as I speak, go into developers.facebook.com and actually build this for yourself right now. All of these tools are available. There's an approval process to make sure that the action that you use is one that we're okay with. But apart from that, it actually is entirely open and entirely up to you what you actually want to build here.